All right, so Chainsaw Man chapter 131. Sorry, just scared my cat because I started talking out of nowhere. Sorry, buddy. So, Chainsaw Man chapter 131 was pretty much the opposite of what we got last week, where last week was a lot of spectacle. There was hardly any dialogue whatsoever, a lot of double page spreads, which is awesome and great to look at, and I really, really enjoyed it. But when you are waiting week to week or bi weekly for manga chapters to come out, it can feel a little bit disappointing in the sense that there's not a ton of story progression, right? So I can understand that, even though I still enjoyed it. This took the opposite approach, where we get a bunch of story progression, a bunch of exposition as to things that are going on. And I think my favorite thing here is that the reason that the famine devil does not want the world to end is because she loves food. And there's just something about the irony of that I really enjoy. So yeah, there's a bunch of stuff going on in this chapter. At the very beginning, we have Denji and Asa still on the chainsaw bike going into the demon's mouth, and it actually does manage to swallow them whole after the falling devil allows it to happen. And as soon as that happens, the demon like starts gagging, and he just basically barfs out Denji and Asa. And what more of a romantic thing to bring a couple together than if you are both swallowed by a demonic entity and then vomited out of its mouth? I feel like after an experience like that, they are destined to become a true couple. I don't know, I'm still shipping it, man. I don't care. Anyways, that happens, and the falling devil is like, but I made that with love. And for a split moment, I actually started to get a little bit, I felt a little bit sorry for her, because she did go through a lot in order to create this meal. And she did make it with love. It'd be like if you went to like your grandma's cooking, and then, you like spat it out. And she's like, I spent all day making this with love. It's really disappointing. But what's going on here is there's a lot of crossover of different demon powers and abilities that are happening here all simultaneously. So first of all, the falling devil, it is revealed that was being controlled by the famine devil. And the reason that she was able to do this, she explains that her ability works that if she puts a creature or a thing into enough of a starvation, she begins to have power over it. So she was basically starving the falling devil in order to allow herself to have control over it. And the entire purpose of her putting Asa and Yoru into this situation where they would be inside of a demon, kind of contained, is that she would begin to starve, and then Famine would have control over the War Devil. So yeah, something having going through starvation allows the Famine Devil to have control over them. Okay, so that's on one hand, but then Nayuta shows up here, and she was able to control the mind of the demon that was going to eat Asa and Denji, and basically manipulated it to believe that Asa and Denji tasted like actual shit. And then it vomited it out, which also throws like a whole other wrench into things right now, because Nayuta, her characterization has been very strange so far, because we haven't really had a whole lot of her. Like, how much of her is basically Makima Part 2, Makima Jr.? How much of it is just herself? How much is the control devil the same, between Makima and Nayuta, or do they have different intentions? And, how much of her manipulation of Denji, is kind of like feeling like a little bit of feelings towards him, like she actually cares about him, or how much is she manipulating it so that he just does whatever she wants and brings her whatever she wants? And he has kind of taken on this role of her caretaker, but how much of a shit does she really give about him? But Nayuta knows right away that this is the famine devil and that they are siblings, and so obviously, like before with Asa, she has this kind of attuned awareness to it. But it's kind of like she's just wanting to continue what she has going on with Denji at this moment, and she just doesn't want anything else to be involved. It's sort of like, yeah, like Denji really is her property. She controls him, and then he does things for her. He takes after her, he looks over her, and that's just what she wants going on, right? But the next part is about this prophecy that has been kind of looming in the background for some time now within part 2 of Chainsaw Man, of this oncoming apocalypse, of this like deadly force that is going to sweep the world very soon. And there's a lot of different characters like Yoshida and his kind of objective of what he might be trying to do with this, and then we also have Famine's objective. It looks like this entire time she has just been trying to get control. As it's funny, because as Yoru is trying to take down Chainsaw Man, during this entire time, Famine has been trying to capture Yoru. So it's sort of this like consistent, bigger fish eating the smaller fish, kind of going in that sort of direction where there's always something after the next person. I wonder if Death is actually after Famine, and it's just this consistency of like these characters after each other. But she doesn't want this apocalypse to happen. So you would think that the Four Horsemen, would be part of it, and that would be something that she would be looking forward to or even be complicit in. But instead, she is looking to stop it because she likes the human world, most particularly the food here. She mentions pizza and Chinese food and how horrible it would be if we didn't get to have those things anymore, which is hilarious. And I just love the irony of that, of the famine devil just loving food so much. That's kind of perfect. But Nayuta, at first, she's like, why don't you want the apocalypse to happen? That could be cool. That could be fun. So she's just sort of like not really invested in it, but at the same time, she's just like, let it happen. That's cool. So she sort of has this childlike innocence towards it, where she's just thinking that it would be fun. She's not actively involved. At least I don't think so, unless they pull another twist. I don't think that she's in communication with Death or whatever. She just seems to think like, oh, an apocalypse, awesome. Yeah, why not? But it's sort of like a childhood like naivety to it, where she just doesn't think about it one way or the other. She's just like, okay. And then as soon as Famine mentions the fact that a bunch of great food would disappear, then she's like, oh, fuck, like, what? No, that's not happening. So she doesn't even really comprehend like what the implications of that actually are. And so then Famine asks, well, why don't you team up with me and then we'll try to stop it? And she's like, I can't because I have to go to school. So I think that she very much is a duplicate of Makima in many ways, but because she's a child, she has these natural childlike tendencies. Like she's very bratty, she's very selfish. I guess Makima was too, but like there's that, and then there's the fact that it's food that makes her think like, I don't want this to happen, that she wouldn't think about the apocalypse in a good way or a bad way. She's just like, okay, cool. And then she thinks that, oh, I have to go to school. Like, I can't fight the apocalypse because I have to go to school, even though if the apocalypse happens, there would be no school to go to. But she seems like she does very well. It shows in the last photo, the last panel, that she's just like raising her hand, ready to answer all the questions. So she would be that really obnoxious, like, know-it-all person in school. You remember like elementary school, and there would just be that kid that would just like raise their hand to everything and answer every question and just like, kind of, get all the gold stars, just like the teacher's pet kind of character. I feel like that's where she would fit in. But my main question now is, where does Yoshida fit into all of this? Because I remember him having a short conversation with Famine, and she was telling him a little bit about this oncoming devastation, and that one of the primal fears is already here, which of course would have been the falling devil. But what happened to the rest of that conversation, and what does Yoshida have to do with this situation? Because he was asking Denji before, you think if Chainsaw Man ate Death, that would go away? Like, is that possible? Is that something that could happen? So are him and Famine like on the same side now, or are they having different agendas that are kind of coalescing? I don't really know. And who else do we have left? Yeah, we have the fake Chainsaw Man, which is still a factor. Maybe that is Death in some way. I don't know. Because that fake Chainsaw Man character kind of came in to get Denji and Asa out of trouble for a moment during this whole sequence, but it's not mentioned by Famine. It's not mentioned by the Falling Devil herself. So they probably didn't even realize that it happened. I imagine that they would mention it at some point if they did, but that's still kind of like out there in the ether of like, what is that, I like it. I like the direction that it's going. I enjoyed the chapter. I like that we got a little bit more exposition of things going on. Some things are a little bit difficult to keep track of remembering like how each devil controls their particular, people. Like, how do they do it? Whereas, Nayuta was able to get right into the devil's mind, whereas Famine needs to starve something in order to be able to do it. They all have their different conditions to meet, whereas the War Devil has to have, possession over something in order to use it. So they all have their particular conditions, but they are all kind of like intertwining at this point. So, Yeah, interesting to see, man. I don't know. I enjoyed the chapter. I thought it was good. I didn't think we were getting one this week, actually. I thought it was going to be another bi weekly. So cool to see. I enjoyed it. Let me know what you guys think about it down below. Leave all your thoughts, comments, opinions, and theories about where you think the story is going to go from this point forward. I imagine, Denji and Asa are here, but with the other two devils there, they might get taken away. Maybe Famine was going to take Asa, and then Nayuta is going to take Denji back home. Keep them as far away from each other as possible because they are only stronger together, right? Anyways, guys, let me know what you think. Also, if you want to support the channel on a deeper level, I do have channel memberships turned on, Patreon, merch store, all that fun junk, as well as all the social media links where you can follow me down below. Other than that, I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. I'll talk to you next time.